Wonder Woman issue 56. This is James Tynion the fourth, and Emanuela Lupacchino on the art. So this was kind of the fallout of the big, because obviously the first issue last week was the big opening of the big death and this massacre with the Are You Afraid of the Dark reference, which I'm not forgetting, by the way. It's not been forgotten.
Submitted for the approval.
And it's basically them going to Cersei for help this issue, and it has a bit of mystery where you don't know where they're going at first. And it's like, why are they getting a unicorn? What's going on? And then they go to Cersei.
Can you imagine my emotions that went through when Cersei showed up and it wasn't the Rucka Cersei? I might have yelled, and then a couple pages later went, "Oh."
Yeah,
that's a typical Matt reaction.
Yeah, it was a meta joke because she's like, "Oh, forget," because it was like at first she's like, "Oh, let's do the big, the comic book theatricality," and then she realized, oh, she's the symbol, she's the Hecate symbol. She's like, "Oh shit, this is serious." Okay, never mind, normal Cersei. And I was like, okay, that was kind of funny. That was like, oh, I like the theatrics of the whole thing.
Yeah, and so that's a character that she, much like any of the other gods, I like when they write them as they're playing their own game, so their allegiances shift. So sometimes she might be an enemy to Diana, but this is bigger than both of them. So, they're going to be on the same side for this.
Yeah, she hugs her and everything. It's very friendly. She's all for helping. And so they sit around, and ultimately Zatanna's not very pleased where Wonder Woman's plan ultimately goes, which is, oh, you know what? This repelled the Upside Down Man, because that was in fact one of the interesting things that came up in this issue, is that Hecate and her 5 chosen, where she's put her power, because someone tried to, sorcerers tried to steal her power way back when, so she hid it in 5 people, and she's awakening them now, and she seems that whatever she's doing, whatever Hecate is doing, is kind of like it's actually going to fight back the Upside Down Man and the other kind. So even if Wonder Woman and Justice League Dark win this fight and they beat Hecate, that's still leaving the door wide open for Upside Down Man. So that's probably the next arc, I imagine.
Right. And so the way that I'm envisioning it is that they don't have to beat Hecate, they just have to reason with her. Right? And I feel that's where it's going to go, because if Cersei's a patron because she's the goddess of magic, she's not the goddess of magic, that's Hecate, but that's who her patron is. So I feel like we're going to get this kind of story that's like the Greek myths, where I don't want to fantasy book this, to borrow a term, but I feel like having Hecate on their side is better than just outright fighting her.
Yeah. I mean, I assume there'll be a lot more roadblocks and a lot more, kinks.
Yeah, because we've seen what happens when her power gets unleashed, right? She burned up the Oblivion Bar, and all those people in it that were just like peripheral to it. So, and here we get to see, what was her name?
Dawn. Manitou Dawn.
Yes, Manitou Dawn, and how it's affected her. So, and then in turn how it affects Wonder Woman. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot of moving pieces.
Dawn's outright being controlled and off to Nana Parbat, because we have actually Dead Man, because we get a scene where like someone from the FBI is questioning about her and how she left. And then we find out Dead Man was in there getting the details, and then he eventually shows up to the rest of the team and fills them in and what's going on. But yeah, no, I mean, I almost gasped at one point when Zatanna says, "You know what, Batman was right. You're not ready for this." And then like Constantine's like, "Oh bollocks." Yeah, that's not good.
She went there. Went there.
So Zatanna and Wonder Woman have got a bit of a power struggle right now in terms of what is the right thing to do, and Zatanna's accusing Diana of not respecting the actual weight of magic in the world and what it means and the gravity of it, and Diana's like, no, we have to fight any way we can. So I feel like Diana is being a bit headstrong here and will probably have to learn a lesson by doing this. Something bad is going to happen because she's being this stubborn, basically. I mean, just to put it in a word. So I'm expecting
which we've seen go bad on both ends. Like sometimes it's good when she's stubborn, but other times it's her fatal flaw. So, but I like that because it was Wonder Woman centric, it just didn't feel like a crossover. I mean, not that I've been reading Wonder Woman since,
Yeah, but I mean, you couldn't read this issue without reading
no,
the first
yeah,
part of
no,
it. It would make
not at all.
it would mean nothing. It would make no sense. But there was some fun moments in there. I like Man-Bat and Chimp. Their
Yeah,
commentaries on things. But Man-Bat being happy that he was a cow for a brief second when Cersei was
yep,
messing with him.
yep.
It was like, oh, yeah.
Well, yeah, and I like when they bring up the Odyssey
Mm,
with Cersei and how she turns all the men into different animals and whatnot. So that's always fun. And then the art too. I love Lupacino so much. Like
oh,
one
Lupacino's
of my
great.
favorite working
Yeah.
artists. So and it worked out here. I like a lot of the magic designs with the way that she does them. Like the whole Manitou Dawn stuff looks pretty good. Like Cersei's when she appears with the lightning and whatnot. Like it's all very solid.
Yeah, I mean
That's really
Lupacino,
nice.
like I don't know if she's been doing anything whilst Orlando's been on the book, but she was rotating in and out during the Robinson stuff because
Yep.
that tended to be the most exciting issues. Oh, Lupacino's on this issue. Let's
Hmm.
get to it. Um, no, it's a solid part of a crossover. It kind of suffers from being the second chapter, right? Where
Yeah.
it's like it's not the big bombastic things of the first chapter, and we're not at the point yet where everything's ramping up quite yet. This was very much the breather chapter in between that sets up the next stuff. Which is
Yeah.
fine, but Tynion has fun with it. He has fun with the Cersei stuff. He has fun with the
Yeah.
characters interacting. Dead Man was a nice, pleasant surprise, I thought.
Yep. I
Um,
like his comic relief. Boston's always great for that. And also not too far back being used properly. Unlike the last time I had watched Arrow, where it was Ra's al Ghul's stronghold, which is just incorrect. You know. So
yes. Yes. So the book ends with Wonder Woman, and this is what Zatanna didn't want her to
nope.
do, was to try and harness the power of Hecate
Mhm.
and control it in some way because she thinks it's too dangerous. But the book ends with Wonder Woman going off and getting Cersei's help to sort of unleash it. So she's in Hecate mode at the end of the book, getting ready
Yeah.
to go fight Tanana Parbat. So. That was where we wrapped it up. No, it was a solid second chapter. I don't have a whole lot to really say about it though in terms of
No.
breaking it down because it's just setting up the next part.
Yeah. It's the breadcrumbs issue. It's like where are we going?
Yeah.
Let's follow this trail. So
What do you have
yeah,
to,
it's solid.
and you have to have it after the big bombastic because the big bombastic opening is like, oh, here's the big explosion without much plot to really kind of
Yeah.
explain it. So afterwards, we have to kind of explain it and we have to slow down and set up where we're going.
Hmm.
And that's fine. The problem with monthly comics, well, it's not monthly in this case; it's weekly, which makes it much easier. But the problem with comics being 20 pages an issue is that you don't get to do both in the same issue. Typically, not always, but
Right. Which the Witching Hour Part One worked pretty well for that because it was a standalone. Uh, so you could get the big bombastic and the story elements there versus here, which I'm very excited for 2 days from now getting the next chapter
yeah, just
already.
Justice League Dark's the next chapter, which is
Yeah.
out this week. So, yeah. So what are you rating it, Matt?
Oh, that's a solid 7.5. And I feel like the art's doing a lot of the heavy lifting there because I really enjoy Lupacino.
Um, yeah, 7.5 sounds about right.
Mm.
That sounds about right.
Yeah.
It's not as
Yeah.
exciting as the first issue, and I'm sure there's more excitement. Better things to come.
Mhm.
I wouldn't be surprised if we get to the end of the crossover and look back, and this would be the weakest issue of the bunch.
Yeah.